Hello, I'm Christine Timms. Welcome to this 15-minute tutorial on my Team Payroll Sensitivity Analysis template as described in my Team Building for Financial Advisors Handbook. The template will help you analyze and estimate your variable costs relating to your team at the beginning of each fiscal year. It will also be useful when considering adding another team member or when changing multiple team member bonuses due to promotions within the team. The analysis helped me assess my ability to sustain my team's compensation structure through bad markets by estimating my pay after all team payroll costs and non-team deductions. I used the analysis to inspire team members by showing them how much their pay increased with the growth of the business. This template is good for teams of all sizes. Much of the template can probably be completed for you by a team member. So first, I'll show you a completed sample of input and resulting reports for a 5-member team. This is the Input tab. The cells highlighted in yellow indicate the information you need to enter, including your practice's revenue from the previous year, 7 potential revenue scenarios for the upcoming fiscal year that you want to analyze, details for your team member and their existing compensation arrangement, and changes to that compensation for the upcoming year. The resulting summary report shows how much each team member and the advisor receive under each of the revenue scenarios. Under Scenario 1, 0 change in revenue, Sally Smart sees her income increase by $7,000, up 4.4%, and the advisor's pay will be $1,014,000, a decrease of 1.8% from the previous year. A worst-case scenario might be a 30% drop in revenue, resulting in Sally Smart seeing her income drop by $29,000, or 18%, and the advisor being paid $673,200, a decrease of 34.8%. I found that team members liked seeing how their pay would be affected under various revenue scenarios. You can always hide the other team members if confidentiality is required. Note that each revenue scenario also has its own tab, which provides further details on the breakdown of each team member's pay and how it changes from the previous year. Each scenario tab shows the advisor's team costs and change in costs from previous years. During this tutorial, I will walk you through entering your personal data in each cell, the purpose of each cell, and then review the summary of each scenario with you. The summary in each scenario tab will be completed automatically using the information that you enter in the Input tab. So let's get started. The template opens with an Instructions tab to refresh you on what information needs to be entered in the Input tab and provide some general tips for completing. After you've saved your spreadsheet with a new file name to avoid overwriting the template, complete the Input tab. Click on the Input tab to begin completing the template. Let's start at the top and work our way down. Begin by filling in the yellow cells with your name and team name in the fiscal year. I'm calling you Awesome Advisor. Next, we come to last year's revenue and advisor pay. In this section, you're going to summarize your previous year's revenue and pay. You can see that there are cells to enter revenue from 2 different sources or codes. You may have revenue under separate codes if you have previously assumed another advisor's practice and a portion of the revenue from those clients is being paid to the former advisor. I'm going to enter $1.8 million for revenue code 1 and $1.2 million for revenue code 2. We next need to enter your share of your practice's revenue before you pay team costs. I'm going to enter $1.4 million. You'll see that Advisor Grid payout percentage automatically calculates after you enter this amount. Advisor pay after paying team costs will also calculate automatically as we complete the remainder of the template. Moving on to next year's practice revenue scenarios. In this section, you're going to enter the potential revenue change scenarios that you want to analyze for the next fiscal year. Scenario 1 is automatically set to no change. For scenario 2, we want to see the effects of a 20% increase in revenue. And for scenario 3, we want to see the effects of a 20% decrease in revenue. For other potential scenarios, let's look at 30% revenue increase and a 30% revenue decrease, a 10% increase and a 10% decrease. As we enter the potential revenue changes, you'll have seen the expected revenue automatically calculating in the cell next to the entered amount. If you expect your revenue payout to change, either because of an increase or decrease in revenue moving you to a different grid level, or because of changes by your firm's management, enter the new expected payout percentage in the highlighted cells. I'm going to assume that there will be no change to your revenue payout percentage regardless of the expected income, so I will leave these cells with the same value as the last fiscal year, which was automatically populated. The last thing we need to look at in this section is a drop-down box where you indicate how revenue or payout-based team member bonuses are calculated. You are choosing between basing the bonus on the total expected revenue of your practice or your payout portion of that revenue. I'm leaving it set to total revenue. You've now completed setting up the potential revenue scenarios you want to analyze. Next, we'll enter the details of your team's compensation from last year. Your first job in this section is to identify your existing team members. I'm going to create this sample using a 5-member team, and we'll enter each of their names in the column. After entering each of your team members' names, I suggest that you click the bottom button, the button called Hide Blank Team Member Rows. This macro will hide any unused team member sections and make the template smaller and easier to work with. If you ever need to add a new team member and need to access the hidden rows, just click the button Unhide All Rows and they will reappear. In the next column, you'll indicate if each team member is paid by the firm or by you, the advisor. Note that you can enter any amount between 0 and 100%, as you may only be responsible for some of the cost of a particular team member if you're sharing the cost with another advisor, or if they're being fully or partially paid for by your firm. Next, you will indicate if each team member is receiving a share of your practice's revenue. In this sample, Sally, our most experienced team member, is receiving a bonus of 3.8% of revenue. Bob is receiving 2.8%, Hannah 1.1%, Larry 0.5%, and our newest team member, Luke, is not receiving a revenue-based bonus. As I entered each percentage amount, the adjacent column automatically calculates the team member's revenue bonus based on last year's revenue. The next two columns in the template, personal effort bonus and special bonus, allow you to enter non-revenue-based compensation over and above the team member's base pay. I use these columns to compensate team members for working overtime, going above and beyond for a client, generating a referral, or picking up the slack for other team members if they were sick or on vacation. Basically, any extra amount that you decide to pay to a team member is recorded in these columns. I'm going to enter $6,000 for Larry and $7,000 for Luke under the personal effort bonus column, and $500 for Sally under the special bonus column. Moving on to base pay, you enter each team member's base or salary pay for the previous year. The last two data entry columns in this section are quotes, tech, and benefits. You might have other costs besides quotes and tech that you could include in this number. In these sections, you indicate each team member's cost for technology and benefits from the previous year. Depending on what you entered in the percentage paid by advisor column, these costs will be included in total advisor cost. I'm going to enter a flat $1,500 per team member for quotes and technology and $4,500 for benefits. Total advisor cost sums the total cost for each team member paid by the advisor. Remember that the template assumes that all bonuses are always fully paid for by the advisor, and that base pay, quotes, and technology and benefits are paid for by the advisor as indicated in the percentage paid by advisor column. We've now completed entering the data for last year's team, and we'll move on to estimating your payroll costs for next year. In this section, you're going to enter your costs for your team members for the next year. This will give you the opportunity to factor in any increases in bonuses, base pay, or expected technology and benefit costs. You can see that the name of each team member has been automatically populated for you. To begin, you have the choice of entering all the data from scratch in the yellow cells, or pre-populating the data with last year's information and making the necessary adjustments. If you want to start with last year's data already populated, click the button, Copy last year's to this year. The macro will do so for you. You can now start editing the data to reflect this new year's cost increases. I'm going to change Sally's revenue bonus percentage from 3.8% to 4% to reflect the great job she did last year. I'm also going to raise Bob's revenue bonus from 2.8 to 3%, Anna's from 1.1 to 1.2, and Larry's from 0.5 to 0.6. I'm going to leave most of the information the same as last year. However, I'm going to assume that Sally's base salary is raised by the firm from $45,000 to $46,000, and Hannah's base salary is raised from $40,000 to $41,000. We have 3 more items to enter, and then we'll be able to see the effects of our different revenue scenarios on each team member's pay and your pay on the separate tabs for each scenario. The last 3 entries are for other non-team deductions affecting expected advisor's pay. You may not need to use these fields, however, they may be very important if you have revenue under an additional code because you're paying a portion to a former advisor for a group referral. Under other non-team deductions, flat monthly amount, you enter any monthly amounts that are automatically deducted from your revenue. This could be for insurance, rent, or anything else. I'm going to enter $300. The next 2 cells are used to enter a percentage of revenue from either code 1 or code 2. If you have one that is automatically deducted, I'm going to enter 1% for code 1 and 25% for code 2. Again, many advisors will find that these potential deductions do not apply to them, so just leave them as zeros. We have now completed entering all of the relevant data and are ready to review the output. Checking onto the Summary tab, clicking on the Summary tab, we see a table summarizing each of our revenue scenarios. The effect of each team's annual compensation under that scenario, and the effect on the advisor's compensation. As you saw in the beginning of this video, each scenario is analyzed in further detail in the corresponding Scenario tab. Here's scenario 2, up 20% in revenue, with the team member info and your cost info. After reviewing the summary in each individual scenario tab, you can return to the Input tab and enter different scenarios or modify team members' compensation numbers for the next year and then see the effects. I hope this tutorial has shown you the benefits of planning for different potential revenue scenarios and team costs, and how it is useful when planning raises for team members. The Team Building Template Bundle is downloadable from my website, christinetims.com, for $49.99 Canadian, or approximately $40 US. It includes the blank templates and the completed samples. Please note that my handbooks for professional financial advisors on team building, business models, and succession planning are available in paperback and ebooks through Amazon and Chapters Indigo or directly from myself. Feel free to reach out with any questions through LinkedIn or christinetims.com. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to watch this tutorial. I hope my templates and ideas will help you better analyze your practice and help reduce the stress associated with figuring out team member compensation.